If you are one of those docs that has the accelerator pinned to the floor, but it doesn't feel like you're going any faster, that is a warning sign that you're on the road to burnout. In other words, you are doing everything you can, but you just don't seem to be getting more profitable. Your volume doesn't seem to be growing. That's the road to burnout. Now, I've been teaching a model for chiropractors that's been called a building block model. And I give you some things here that if we can shift your headspace, maybe we can shift your practice space. And I know this to be true, that when we shift the things inside your practice and the success there, it ultimately changes your perspective on the outside world. In other words, if things are good in the office, things are good everywhere else. And if they're not good inside the office, it can be something that leads to an attitude adjustment. It changes the stress in the relationships, and I totally understand it. I want to give you some things here that I know will help you out. So again, the model that we teach is a building block model where if you get the foundation right, we can add things to it. And sometimes docs just need to pause, not lose ground, so they can come back recharged. And ultimately, there's a paradox there that I want to give you as we move through August and into September, which is in order to recharge, sometimes you need to unplug. And it's a paradox. You got to unplug to recharge. In other words, you got to pull out, just chill out. And what should happen in your practice is at least maintains or stays the same. And when you re-engage, we can take those building blocks and keep going upwards. But a lot of docs, they've got the accelerator pinned to the floor and the practice isn't moving anywhere faster. And if you do that on a long enough timeline, with something like quarantine at play, it'll lead to some craziness, it'll lead to some frustration, and possibly even burnout. So what I want to do is let you know that structure ultimately will give you confidence. And when you have the confidence, you'll ultimately get the results. And that, my friends, gives you energy. So you see, structure will give you confidence, and the byproduct of that is you get results with your patients, gives you energy, and it's the opposite of burnout. What I mean specifically is I took something that Dan Murphy created in the 1980s, and we've wrapped communication around it, that ultimately, if you do the steps through the re-exams, through the care plan that we give, you'll have a number of people staying with you through wellness care, and your wellness practice on the first of the month covers all your overhead. Covers all your overhead, which means on the second, third day of the month, you're profitable and it's stress-free. It's awesome for chiropractors with families because you don't need to miss the things that are super important to you. What I want to show you here is a little bit of that structure from Dan Murphy himself, and this is the marking system we use. It's subluxation based, it's vitalistic care, and the whole goal is to get him through the finish line. Not to the finish line, but through the finish line and into wellness care on a regular and consistent basis, where if you follow my building block system, you should have 10% of your patients that say yes at the ROF, 10% higher will say yes into wellness care, which means you ultimately just have these people coming once a week, which is great for them, and it's also really good for you financially. But check out what Dan Murphy says about the subluxation-based model. It holds up in the court of law, and what I love is you don't need to change it based on who's paying, and you can sleep well at night because it's been scientifically proven over 4 decades. Check out what we do in a subluxation-based model that is vitalistic all the way through. You love it.
And so that page there would then go into court. And of course, I just write for the blue flexion, for the green, I write extension. And then I grade every single joint. And sometimes they're so sloppy and so hypermobile, sometimes they don't move at all, clear subluxation. And it's completely objective. People cannot, through a conscious effort, make any of those things different.
So by doing that templating and basically the way you would do that motion study, it's a clear indication of a subluxation, which I think is super important for chiropractors to know, right? This is an objective way to show subluxations pre-care and then show a reduction in subluxations post-care.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, this is something you can sleep well at night. It's scientifically based. We give the journal articles to our seminar attendees so they fully understand what it is that we're handing them. And if you keep building on this building block model, that is phenomenal for docs with a family. I can even show you how to move out of the operator role and into the executive role, meaning you don't have to be in there every day, and you can even flip your week. Instead of working 5 days a week and having 2-day weekends, You can work 2 days a week and have your 5-day weekends. I know it because I live it, and so much so that pre-quarantine, I'm sure very similar to you, I felt like I had my life wired, right? I felt like things were rolling along. We were in a robust economy. Things were great, but specifically, my personal interest and my personal view was that I was able to coach my son's high school lacrosse team. And in doing so, I could check out of the office at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I could work with the kids at practice. I was there for game day. I was having a blast. I mean, you talk about feeling charged up and alive. I played lacrosse in college, Division I sports. So to me, this is a really cool opportunity. And then COVID hit and the season was canceled. And very much like you, we're getting things back on track. We're continuing to build back beyond where we were. And I'm learning the lessons from this that I think are super important. But ultimately, what has saved us and what will save you is the foundation. If your foundation's strong and the roots are good, you can go much higher. And we've been doing this in our practice, hugely profitable, very successful, right through this lockdown mode. If you have felt the pinch and you've been running a fragile financial model, there's a lot of docs. And ultimately, they say when the tide goes out, you get to see who's swimming naked. And I think that's happened to a lot of docs that were high volume but low fee. The tide has gone out, and all of a sudden they realize we're not making that much money, or we're not making any money at all. And it gets stressful, and it puts pressure on your relationship, and it really can lead to burnout. Join us for a workshop that is changing lives on other continents. It's called The Elements of Closing. It's phenomenal. We've had some Australian docs that have requested to do some virtual things. Hey, if you're an Aussie, shoot me a message. You'll be surprised at some of the things we have going on. The American docs, I gotta let you know, this workshop is absolutely the wave of the future, and with what's going on in chiropractic, with insurance, with reduced payments, just building value in the process, this is something that can help you eventually move into an associate model. And I just got done teaching this to about 30 docs on a weekly basis for about 6 weeks. And we now have 11 of those 30 docs hooked up with associates, and they're in that model. But you see, the best things I teach is after the Elements of Closing workshop. That is your foundation in this building block model. And I won't teach my associate model if you haven't done that workshop. So please join us. It's gonna help you, it's gonna help your family. And when you get more profitable, let's call it what it is, it changes your perspective on life, because money gives you options. Money's not the root of all evil. You can help more people from profitability than you can in poverty. So come get profitable. It'll change your perspective. It'll relax some of the relationships. You'll have more options. And I know because we have hundreds of doctors that are already doing it. I just want to share it with you. So join us for the Elements of Closing. It's a 2-day workshop. We got some special things for Australian docs, and I'm trying really hard to get back to Europe in October. So if you're in Oz or Europe, shoot me a message if that interests you. But we will be in Chicago, and we will also be most likely heading back to the East Coast very soon. So check the website, look for the dates. But this is something that is shifting practices, and as much as we do the work to get there and the efforts to make things happen, it's rewarding for me because you get your results. And like I said, results equals energy, and I get energy from your profitability. Join us, Elements of Closing. It's a 2-day workshop. It'll change not just your practice, it'll change your life.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, I say it's alright.